AC/DC, Highway to Hell, topical, right? Because the world, that's where the world is heading. That's what I meant. Political, yeah. You're gonna hear the truth here. So, the reason I played AC/DC, right? I like a bit of AC/DC. I only know a few tracks, Highway to Hell and Back in Black, and anyway, right? I was running, yeah, believe it or not. I was running today, and I got Spotify, and I go through different sort of playlists, and sometimes I just search genre, and I put in something like classic rock, workout, or heavy rock, something like that. And, you know, I was getting your Bostons and your Kansases and all that, and Rainbow, I was loving it. And then AC/DC popped up, and it was one I vaguely remember, but I hadn't really listened to the lyrics, and one lyric made me laugh out loud. It seemed, if you start analysing rock lyrics, like, I was into Def Leppard, right? I like a bit of Def Leppard. I don't know, again, I know a couple. Was it Pyromania and Animal and that pour some sugar on me, right? Which is presumably some sort of metaphor for give me some loving, right? Classic, right? But he ruins that after the solo. He's going past some sugar, and then like there's backing vocals and ad libs, and he's going, "Do you like sugar?" Then he goes, "1 lump or 2?" Now, then he's lost all the poetry and analogy. He's just talking about sugar lumps. So, anyway, so this song came on, Touch Too Much, right? But, right, I'm just going to play a bit of it and see, and then I'll say, in case you can't hear the lyric, hold on, where is it? Where is it? Lyric is go, she had the face of an angel smiling with sin, the body of Venus with arms. So he had to add that bit. That. The body of Venus with arms. She's got arms. I just want to make that clear. So he's done that lyric, body of Venus. Oh, he's thought Venus de Milo. Thought that bird didn't have arms. This one has. So, she had the face of an angel smiling with sin, the body of Venus with arms. Let me make that clear. This girl's got arms. So, nothing wrong if you haven't, but she's got the body of Venus, but with arms. Oh God! So that was my day. Right.
Now, let me make this abundantly clear. The Russian response will be swift and overwhelming. You don't have to take my word for that. You can listen to the man with his finger on the Russian nuclear trigger. Vladimir Putin has, as late as September, made clear that any attack by long-range missiles supplied and indeed targeted and indeed operated by NATO will be treated as a declaration of direct involvement in the war by the whole alliance, even though only the United States and the United Kingdom have thus breached Putin's red line. All of them are closing their embassies in Kiev today, even those with the least to do with NATO decision-making, like the Greek government in Athens, for example. Only Israel has kept its embassy open in Kiev today, not fearing an overwhelming Russian response on the Ukrainian capital. It may be that they are counting on their previous special relationship with Russia to protect them from being targeted. My advice to them is to think again and send your diplomats home. The NATO alliance is thus jointly and severally responsible for a declaration of war and the perpetration of acts of war. I don't know how many Shadow missiles were fired from the United States Armory, but I do know the cost of the British attack. 12 of these Storm Shadows were fired into Russian territory in Kursk at a cool £7 million. I'm mentioning the price because it's -4 degrees where I am today, and it's still November, and millions of British old age pensioners are going to die and shiver and suffer through this incoming bitterly cold winter. For the sake of saving money, the British government has withdrawn, removed, stolen the coal of their cold weather allowance. So the British people and the British Parliament have themselves to blame for the consequent reaction by the Russian armed forces. There's no point in bleating about that now. We elected this Parliament. We elected this Prime Minister. Nobody in the British Parliament, I mean nobody in the British Parliament, today objected to the firing of these British cruise missiles, for that is what they are. Let me run it past you again. Britain fired 12 cruise missiles into Russia today. And the Parliament was not even told, never mind consulted. Not only was there no parliamentary vote on it, there was not a parliamentary murmur against it, making clear that our rubber stamp Parliament is a laughing stock and treated as such by very large sections of the British population. The Americans can look after themselves. They're protected by a vast ocean, by two vast oceans. They may very well confidently expect that at least in the next days or weeks, there will be no intercontinental ballistic missiles flying across the Pacific, flying across the Atlantic. In any case, they are big boys. I'm going to concentrate tonight on the tale of the American dog. Mad Dog Biden's dirty, shitty tail is called Keir Starmer, called Labour, called the British government. And the British state is cruising for a bruising, and it's going to get that bruising. Of that, I am perfectly sure. I have spoken on here many times about the peculiar and ancient hatred held by the British state for the people of Russia. It long predates Vladimir Putin. It long predates the Bolsheviks and their Russian Revolution more than 100 years ago. It goes back centuries, and its entrails bear examination elsewhere. But that peculiar hatred of Britain towards Russia is now fully reciprocated. And here's the difference. The Americans are big boys. Britain is not. Britain is but the tail of the American dog. Just 3 missiles fired by Russia would end the entire civilization of the United Kingdom. 1,000 years of history would go up in nuclear smoke and be reduced to nuclear ash, and every living thing on this island would be completely obliterated. It would be wiped from the face of the earth, and it would only take 15 minutes to arrive from Archangel, and it would be hypersonic, and it could not be intercepted. Russian television is showing military shows on all channels. It's showing maps with the lines which demarcate the extent of the range of the ATACMS missiles, and warning everyone living within range of these missiles, which is 190 miles, that they should move and should at least take the precaution of finding a place to shelter. The Russians have begun production of and distribution of portable nuclear bunkers. I don't know how effective they'll be when the shooting starts, but it's a sign that the Russians fully expect all-out war, which will soon turn nuclear.
Just stop, just do what the fuck you want and see if it works. That's probably terrible advice, isn't it? I don't care. And Armageddon. I'm starting to I'm tired. Look at me. Look at me telling you all the things I'm doing. I've been fucking exhausted. Thank you. That was fun, wasn't it? Tatty bye, everyone. Be nice to animals. Tatty bye. What is the best thing about working in the TV and film industry? Oh, God. Well, it depends. It depends who you are and what you like. Some people have a horrendous time. I mean, I'd like to say, okay, for me, it's that I love those things. It's that I love TV. I can't believe my luck that I'm working in my favourite thing. My favourite form of entertainment, I'd say. But what's the best thing? Why do I like it so much? It's coming up with the ideas. Above all else, obviously the money's great. It's nice to do well. You know, I like everything. Writing, directing, producing, acting. I even like the marketing of it to a certain extent. I just like, because I know that's part of it. But my favourite thing is coming up with an idea. When I come up with an idea, I get an adrenaline rush. I go, oh my God. Oh, can I do that? That is the best. That's the best thing. That I've reached a level or demanded that if I have an idea, I want to do it my way. So the creative process, that's the answer. Doing something I love and coming up with the ideas. And there's lots of frustrating things. You know, things go wrong, and you know, politics getting involved. People, you can't say that. You can fucking say that. Stop treating people like idiots. That's like worrying about a heckler. The way they treat things in like TV and film, and one person complains, they'll go, oh, we better look at this. No, don't look at it. You wouldn't look at if a heckler shouts your shit. You wouldn't go, oh, okay, I'm going. Bye. You go, shut the fuck up. What do you know? So I don't know why people pander so much to a few people not liking it. They don't have to fucking watch it. But apart from that, I like it. I even like that bit. I even like annoying some people. Any psychiatrists watching? £8 billion sterling has been given by Keir Starmer to Zelensky since Starmer became Prime Minister not even a year ago. It's us and the French. Except it's not even us and the French. Those of you who know anything about French military prowess since the Napoleonic era know that the French army, well, to put it kindly, cannot be relied upon. I say I can't complain because I always know there's people in much worse positions. I just couldn't bring myself to whine about it because it's obviously, even though it's been handled badly in some cases, it's you got to do it. You got to save lives.
So it looks like it's only us, except there's only 74,000 of us. That's the entire strength of the British Army, of which only half are frontline soldiers. The rest are hairdressers and auxiliaries and ambulance personnel and firefighters and clerks and typists. So we're down to a very small number of forces indeed, which is why I raised the hue and cry in the last few days over the imminence of conscription being returned to the United Kingdom. It could not be otherwise, because Starmer said he was going to send 30,000 British soldiers to act as so-called peacekeepers in the western part, presumably, of Ukraine, except that would leave us with fewer than 15,000 soldiers left in the entire country, in the entire world. They'd have to take the guards of Buckingham Palace and the Palace of Westminster in order to make a deployment of that size. And so it is axiomatic that any madcap foreign adventure expeditionary force like Starmer announced at the weekend he was going to form would require your sons and daughters to be conscripted to perchance die for Keir Starmer in a charge of the Light Brigade.
I saw a great thing. I don't know if it's a famous quote or not, but it was something like, "We're not all in the same boat, we're in the same storm. Some people are in yachts, some people are in rowboats, and some people are drowning." And I think that sums it up. That, you know, I just feel there's people who really had it tough. So I won't whinge.
Long after everyone doing the pledging is dead, even after their children are long dead, we're going to be giving the Ukrainian state £4 billion a year. But the cost of taking away the cold weather payments for our mothers and fathers, grandfathers and grandmothers in a bitter British winter was half of 4 billion, 2 billion. So we made a conscious decision to freeze our old age pensioners, to give it to Zelensky to set fire to as many others as he possibly could. And if you think that the British public will put up with that in perpetuity, you have a lower opinion of the British public than I do. I predict the 100-year treaty will not survive the end of this Parliament. And in any case, no Parliament can bind its successor, and the successor Parliament ought to trash the whole thing, put it in the dustbin of history. Anybody who thinks in terms of 100 years or 1,000 years, anyone who thinks in terms of building a new Reich or a new empire in Europe, fading, failing, flailing Europe, is really lost the place. They are one flew over the cuckoo's nest. But it is remarkable, the kind of things that are happening.
Again, I don't whinge today because, you know, I know how hard it was then. I didn't even whinge then, really, because I was sort of protected. I didn't know I was poor till I was about 14 or 15. So I think that's what certainly taught me that money isn't the most important thing. As I said, growing up, all the best things were, I didn't have any money, but all the best things were free. Friends, comedy, nature, learning, all those things are free. That's amazing, isn't it? That's amazing. All those things are free. I never wanted fucking cars and jewellery. I just, you know. So stay safe. Don't listen to idiots. Do what you want. Do what you know is right. And be nice to animals. Tatty bye, everyone. Tatty bye.
Free
The achievements of Keir Starmer, as you can see, very few.
See? This is educational.
This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown.
It might appear that we're raising concerns, raising children's fears, but in actual fact, they're quite calm doing it now. They understand the importance of doing it, and it doesn't worry them.
This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown. This school is in lockdown.
You need to protect yourself in case, like, anything's outside, like if if danger is outside.
And even if they could get into the classroom, they might not even be able to see us.
War-fighting readiness. Every citizen of this country has a role to play.
War-fighting readiness. Every citizen has a role to play. Those are fighting words, Starmer, trying to sound like a statesman and rally us all together, when really we all know you're just an odious, impotent little man who is a traitor to this country. Not one of those words, though, was about the invasion of a battalion of men from cultures that despise us coming across the British Channel and invading us. Not one of those words was about him. All about a war in Russia that he is trying to provoke. He was talking about billions to be sent on submarines and missiles and more weapons, none of which are going to be used to protect our borders, all of which are to be used to fight elsewhere. He thinks that we would get together and back him and support his wars. He's out of his mind. The British people have been double-crossed by him, the pensioners, the farmers, disabled people, working people. He doesn't even know what they are, business owners. Every single British citizen has been betrayed by this traitor, and he thinks we're going to stand behind him as he does this when we aren't even allowed to talk about securing our borders effectively. The truth is, I don't think anyone for a minute stands behind Starmer. I don't think anyone for a minute believes the lies that come out of his mouth. I don't believe for a second anyone is going to sign up to fight for him. And if they do, they're completely insane and they deserve what they're getting. But we're not even allowed to fight for our own country right now. And it's all by design. He would rather lock us up for speaking about things than actual real criminals. We have a problem with feral, homegrown youths in this country. A police officer, Lon Castle, fired because he didn't respect a 15-year-old with a knife enough when he arrested him. We had 2 feral youths put fireworks into an elderly man's home, killing him. They got 3 years and 6 years. That was it. A joke punishment when Lucy Connolly's been locked up for 31 months and we have Wayne O'Rourke locked up for 3 years. Again, just yesterday, another paedophile walked free. We have 2 men who drove the boats over, Afghan men whose boats ended up capsizing and people were killed. They got 3 months. 3 months. Keir Starmer says he's going to smash the gangs. He has no intention of it. And you know what? This is a video of him actually attempting to smash the gangs.
What a f***ing loser.
One of the most interesting aspects of this case, as far as I'm concerned, has been to watch and observe 2 people with courage fighting a case, and to see that even with limited resources, even unable to bring all the evidence you want to court, you can win significant victories through a belief in what you're saying, a belief in free speech, and the courage to continually put your case.
You cunt. Oh dear. Well.
Will you visit London during the state visit?
I will. I'm not a fan of your mayor.
Why not?
I think he's done a terrible job, the mayor of London. But the nasty person. I think he's done. I think he's
a friend of mine, right?
No, I think he's done a terrible job. But I would certainly visit London. Yeah.
I've been feeling down. What's the best way to move towards the future and forget the arseholes? Well, that's it, isn't it? That's exactly. You've answered your own question there. We move on. I mean, I don't really have. I sort of. When you've got no friends, you don't have to deal. No, I have always been very selective. I've never sort of befriended people for the sake of it, because I was like, I'd rather be lonely than a friend with a twat or an arsehole. And I know there's lots of arseholes like that, but I don't really deal with them. I haven't had to deal with them. I've always tried to do my own thing. I've always owned my own labour. I've worked in jobs when the people I didn't like, but you just don't get sucked in. I can't be bothered. I just can't, and I just think, and if you've been unlucky and you've known some, but I mean the best way is to just trust loved ones, you know, and a few friends and family. Then you can't go wrong. But I think people get caught out when they're worried. They're worried about being on their own, so they'd rather be in a room full of fucking twats than at home watching telly by themselves. And there's no competition. I don't know if that's answered your question or not. I just went on a rant, really. Oh dear. Just do your own thing. Easy said than done, isn't it?
Might be some kind of question, Dave.
Hello, my name is Thomas Crooks, and it has always been my passion to create and build things of my own. Today, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my academic goals, my passion for building things, my love of cooking with my family, and lastly, what I hope to achieve in this course.
Why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Consciousness is a byproduct of the function of the brain, isn't it? A brain is basically a physical computer, right? That we've evolved intelligence to problem solve. That's why you've got a brain, apart from keeping everything sort of going. It's to solve problems, isn't it? It's to find food and mate and all that sort of stuff. So we're just a computer, and consciousness is an upshot. It's called an epiphenomenon. So, so suddenly with this amazing computer where it's just meant to solve problems, we can suddenly introspect and have worries and have anxieties. And part of that that's evolved is a sense of humour, presumably to get us over stuff, to see things in a different way and, understand.
Why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that he has no social media footprint.
We don't know anything, right? And
Yeah.
everyone stopped asking questions, and
Yeah.
there was never a formal report. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information that we know currently and where the investigation stands at the moment. What we know is you have a very young kid who was filmed. They knew he was there with a rangefinder a half an hour before the event. You also know that CNN streamed it live, which I do not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. Like, there's a lot of weird shit. The fact that they wouldn't let people be on that roof because the Secret Service lady said it was sloped and it was dangerous. That's what she'd want to have. Meanwhile, the snipers that were on the other roof was a steeper pitch. It made no fucking sense.
I totally agree. It makes no sense. In fact, I went back to Butler with President Trump, before the election, sort of like the Return to Butler rally. And I was on that stage, and I'm looking at that roof, and I'm like, if I was a sniper, my pole position, my number one spot would be that roof.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
No, it's so obvious.
It's the best seat in the house.
And
like, if you want to be a sniper, there isn't a better position.
It was pretty obvious that the idea was, like, if we're saying that this is a coordinated assassination attempt, and it very well could have been, that's what you would do. You'd have someone go up there, he shoots the president, you shoot him, you got Lee Harvey Oswald all over again.
JFK
it's over.
repeat.
It's all wrapped up nice and clean. They assassinated him. We never heard a peep about it.
Yep.
We don't have any idea. They would concoct some sort of story. He was radicalized by this or that, or, he was on medication. Who knows?
Right.
And now, you have a completely different presidential election. You have a murder on live television.
Power, isn't it? It's good to have a sense of humour. It's good to have people with a sense of humour in society. So it's sort of a way. It's sort of like, I heard one theory once that chimps sort of groom each other. That makes them feel better, makes them feel safe. And then when tribes and society got big, you couldn't do that individually, so you had doing it with language. And I think comedy is a part of that. A group of people getting together, laughing, the world's okay. Same growing up. If you're having a laugh, if people was taking a piss, things couldn't be that bad. Whatever you had, if you had a problem, a mate would take the piss, it must be all right. It's when they stopped taking the piss that you knew you probably had an hour to live. And even then you go, oh, they've only got an hour to live, I better keep taking the piss so they don't know they're dying. So you just keep taking the piss right to the way they die. And even when they slip into a coma, still draw a cock on their face. Oh.
Random passersby were pointing out that there's a guy on the roof.
With a fucking gun.
With a gun, yes.
Yeah, it's not like he was so far away you couldn't tell he had a gun. People saw him.
Yeah.
The whole thing's completely insane.
Yeah.
And you don't hear a goddamn thing about it. It's like, I'm almost more interested in that. No, I am more interested in that than I am the JFK files.
I agree.
Because I feel like with the JFK files, it's so long ago.
Yeah, it's
everyone's
water under the
dead.
bridge.
Who's going to know?
Right.
If you could prove now, and did you see that there was some sort of, there was some indications that there was a phone that had been traveling from outside the FBI offices in D.C. to
I saw that.
where this kid lived.
Right.
Multiple times.
I mean, I don't know there's anyone you could choose to have a head in a jar for eternity that after, I was going to say after the first 1,000 years, but I mean, they'd be annoyed with me after the first 30 seconds. They'd be regretting their decision straight away. So I'm just a head in a jar and I can talk somehow. Oh, fuck me, it'd be horrible, wouldn't it? Oh, no one. I mean, I know that would be bad, being a head in a fucking jar. I mean, again, it would wear off, wouldn't it? There's a limit to how much fun you can have. That's a fucking head in a jar. Oh. Someone who wouldn't drive me mad. Probably someone quiet. If I wanted to talk, I'd talk. They could just nod. They can't even nod. Their head in a jar. They can do that. Someone with eyebrows. Otherwise you wouldn't know whether they're listening or not, would you? Fucking hell.
Defend yourself. Defend your human rights. They can't put you in jail for saying naughty words. Would you say the word on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
you don't want to get arrested, do you?
I don't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
No.
Is it like bashing? What's wrong with that?
No, would you use that word? Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you? Okay, but why?
And I'm using it because you're not allowed to, because you're...
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people.
I'm allowed to. I just choose not to.
We're getting into it now because there are loads of caveat already to free speech already. There are loads, and I agree with them all. Right. I think I agree with every single one of them. As I said, from libel to slander to food additives, even to watershed and, private places. And I agree with them all. But the one I don't agree with is someone's right to not hear something they don't like. That's what we can't do. I say that joke is unpleasant. Well, it might be, but, it's that thing. You shouldn't pave the jungle. You should put on better boot. You can walk away. You can turn it off. The best form of censorship is your right not to listen. And people get confused what freedom of speech is. They think that freedom of speech is their right to be heard and understood and taken seriously. It's none of that. It's a very delicate thing, but it is written. There are rules, and all you have to do is look them up, and then you'll know that.
She's being arrested and taken to jail for praying outside the abortion clinic. Watch this.
Before I ask you any questions about what's going on today, I have to caution you, which is just your rights, which is you do not have to say anything. It may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something that you later on in court. Anything you do so may give you evidence. What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
Okay. That's why you're stood. Is you standing here part of a protest?
No. I'm not protesting.
Are you praying?
I might be praying in my head, not out loud.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public spaces protection?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
So what is that? It's hard to argue that if your government is arresting people for praying, that you're watching a political phenomenon. Because, of course, praying is not simply a nonviolent act. It's not even a physical act. It can't possibly, at least in secular terms, affect outcomes or harm anyone. Praying for people can never be a crime, but it is a crime in Great Britain. Literally a crime. And the woman you saw is not the only person who's been arrested for doing it. So clearly we're watching a spiritual phenomenon here. I mean, there's sort of no arguing it once you see things like that. Why aren't you more panicked that thousands of people, by their own admission, the admission of the British government, arrested every year for saying words, not threats, words.
I am. I've expressed
So why doesn't someone try to overthrow the government? I don't understand. How can they treat you like slaves if you put up with it?
If they carry on down that road.
Well, they are carrying it on. It's thousands a year, and it's getting more.
Then they will be voted out of office. I guarantee it. Yes. That's how
Is that what Winston Churchill would say? I think Winston Churchill said, even if a strong man tries to take Poland, a country we've got nothing to do with, it's not even close to here, we're going to risk the lives of our citizens to liberate Poland.
It is a win for free speech, particularly as the judge said. His comments were, in the judge's words, unnecessary, maybe, offensive, but that doesn't mean he's not allowed to say them. It wasn't harassment, and that is what we're concerned about, that even though people might say unpleasant things, the right to freedom of speech is pointless if it doesn't allow you to be offensive. And so, yes, I can completely get why Graham is so happy, and we're so happy for him at the Free Speech Union. This can be quite confusing because that this trial happened around the same time as when Graham was arrested by 5 armed police officers at Heathrow for completely different posts. The state seems to have a pattern of working with trans activists. When Sophia Brooks reported Graham to the police for criminal damage and harassment, the CPS took his side straight away, it seems, as they did with the case at Heathrow when he was arrested for those tweets. Now, it is a victory because he has been cleared of harassment, and that was in relation to things he'd said online, things that he'd said to Sophia at the time, but he has been done for criminal damage because Sophia Brooks at the Battle of Ideas last year pursued Graham, following him around, putting his camera right into Graham's face, and Graham said in the trial that he was just angry and the phone away, and that's why Sophia went after Graham for criminal damage. But the Free Speech Union is funding Graham's appeal for that conviction because we believe that it sets a dangerous precedent for trans activists to play heckler's veto to try and shut down lawful debate. And you may remember the case that Susan Smith from Women's Scotland had a similar incident happen up at Holyrood when a trans activist came with music blaringly loud to try and drown out the voices of women, and he accused Susan of criminal damage to his umbrella. Now, of course, Police Scotland have dropped those charges after the FSU intervened. Now, that's very similar and arguably similar to Hammock Hoskins' case as well, where because someone retaliated, and so allowing these cases to pursue with, for example, Graham being convicted of criminal damage gives the precedent that trans activists basically can wind up people who are wanting to critique trans ideology and then eventually getting them convicted by going to the police and saying that they were the one harassing me, even though very plausibly I think it was Sophia Brooks who was harassing Graham. This is not the first time that he's been targeted, which is one of the reasons why he's moved to the US, because he simply cannot get away from the persecution that he's faced at the hands of trans activists, because he was one of the first people to start speaking up about this in sort of 2018 time, and he had his colleagues in the entertainment industry completely desert him, who have criticised him and tried to distance themselves from him. He can't get any work here anymore, and when he did return to come to this trial, he was arrested by 5 armed police officers at Heathrow for other tweets. So understandably, he's moved away to where free speech is far better protected in the US.
Your country went to war to preserve human rights in another country you had nothing to do with, but human rights are evaporating in your own country, and it's cool because you have soccer games with foreigners at them and good burrata. And I'm just saying maybe something about the heroic British spirit has been diminished with time. That's all I'm saying. But
there is a very lovely, quaint notion being built up in the United States, driven by people like Tommy Robinson here.
Who's Tommy Robinson?
You know Tommy Robinson.
He seems like a fraud to me.
Well, he's not even Tommy Robinson. His name's Stephen Yaxley. It's not even his real name. He's also convicted of multiple crimes. Thuggery, fraud.
I don't even know anything about him, but he doesn't seem like he's that into Britain.
We would call him a little shit stirrer, right? However,
but the real people here, the actual Britons.
But this idea that he's driven, that we're on the verge of some sort of civil war here. Do you feel that when you walk around?
No, because that's my point. You're so passive.
We're not passive.
They take your human rights away, and you're like, oh, defending Ukraine is so important. We're so proud to have defended Poland's territorial integrity 80 years ago. It's like, great. I'm so glad.
I'm very proud of that.
Apparently. But it's all a kind of displacement where you're taking your own frustrations with yourselves and your own cowardice and sort of living in this Walter Mitty world. We're like, no, actually, we're brave. We're going to defend Ukraine. It's like, what about defend yourselves against the monsters
who are taking defending Ukraine?
It's like 8th on the list. Defend yourself. Defend your human rights. They can't put you in jail for saying naughty words. Period.
I agree.
So march on the Capitol. Get these people out. Scare them.
Yeah.
Hello. It's the most wonderful time of the year, so the song goes. We finished our work. We sit by the fire with friends and family and eat and drink way too much. But for some people, it can be one of the worst times of the year. People living rough, haven't got a home and friends and family, and they can't eat and drink as much as they like. So that's why I'm going to wrap this up and go and give it to a tramp. So, probably film it for Instagram, so people know what a great bloke I am. Put some really sad music on it. See his little fucking face light up. Oh God. Dutch barn. Move on up. Why not? Good advice. Isn't it? If you had to choose one, would you A, never tell another joke in your life? That's impossible. That's impossible. Never taste alcohol again, Can I drink it and hold my nose? I think you mean never. I'll take that as never drink alcohol again. That's tough. Easier than the first one. Never travel beyond Hampstead or your house in the country. That's not that bad. The way honestly, even when I travel to places I really love, I wish they were down the road, or I could teleport myself. Just getting up and getting dressed. Lose all memories of your career since 2001. No, that's the fun bit, isn't it? Looking back at stuff. You did a good job, and that's soon. That's all you are, isn't it? Memories, when you can't actually do any of that shit anymore. I think never go beyond Hampstead. That's fine, unless something terrible happens to Hampstead, which I don't think it will. Hampstead is one of those places that sort of time forgot. Whatever's happening in the world, it's always okay in Hampstead. So I think it's got to be 3. Then I can tell jokes, drink alcohol, and remember stuff. Although the alcohol, I thought that would be a good advert for alcohol. Sort of like a play on words. Dutch Barn, it helps me forget. Because it does actually, it can affect your memory. I told you I do honest advertising. Just me sat in a bin like that. I drink vodka because it helps me forget. What? That. Imagine that in the Super Bowl. That advert. Me in a bin going, I drink vodka because it helps me forget. What? That. Just that. Cost 40 quid, that advert. Put it on Super Bowl. Well, it probably cost about $1 million to put on Super Bowl, but you know what I mean? They're already regretting giving me the company. If you were a cat like us, would you climb the Christmas tree? Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because if I was a cat like you, I'd be an idiot, wouldn't I? So I would climb the Christmas tree. Merry Christmas. That's not bad, is it? I'll do that. Drink Dutch Barn. Merry Christmas. There's an advert. Another one. It's that easy. It's that easy. And my cat, when I was little, Paddy, Big Tabby, a bit like Pickle, used to eat the lametta. You remember that sort of like stuff that you'd hang on Christmas trees that was like sort of tin foil? It would eat that and throw it up. So we just find these really sort of glamorous, shiny balls of vomit around the house. Liberace spew. Yeah, so I probably would climb the Christmas tree. Is there anyone you met professionally that has surprised you or been different to what you expected? David Bowie springs to mind, just because he was so innovative and I don't know, and he was like alien, and then you meet him and he's a normal bloke from South London. And he's really down to earth and funny, and he knows about stuff. He still knows what's going on. You know, you expect him to be sort of out of touch in some sort of weird lair. Yeah, just a bloke called Davy Jones. That's about it, really. Thanks for following. Yeah, Be nice to animals. Tatty bye, everyone. Tatty bye.
A far-right party winning a state election in Germany for the first time since the Nazis, raising questions about Germany's political future.
Anyway, how are you? So, got loads of questions again. Some of them mental. Some of them from cats and dogs. I'm not going to get through them all, but I've just got the first ones. Tired, straight away. I'll tell you why, right? It's not just the hot bath and the stingy eyes and that I'm old, right? It's the fact that I've got a frozen shoulder coming. Now, if you remember, about 10 years ago, this one was frozen, right? For about 18 months. You have like 6 months of agony. If you touch it, it feels like your arm's coming out of its socket and you've been electrocuted and you fall on the floor and cry in agony. I used to wake up screaming where I'd rolled on it, right? And this one's getting it now. 10 years later. You can only have one in each shoulder, apparently. I don't know why. So this one's safe. And when this is over, that's it. I can sort of lift it to there. And it's got to the phase now where I'm not sleeping. It's been about a week where there's nowhere you can lay because your weight of your own shoulder, you can't lay on it. You can't even lay on the other side because the weight of the shoulder squeezes all the badness. I'm not a doctor. I've had some acupuncture, which is sort of temporary. That's as far as I can go. I couldn't be a Nazi, could I? Can't get above there. So anyway, that's why I'm tired. I've been having to schedule things around definitely having a nap at lunchtime because I know I wouldn't have slept well.
Tonight, a political taboo has been shattered. A far-right party winning a state election in Germany for the first time since the Nazis, raising questions about Germany's political future and setting off alarm bells about the far-right's rise across Europe and beyond. The Alternative for Germany Party, or AfD, taking first place in the East German state of Thuringia and second in neighboring Saxony. The AfD, formerly accused by German intelligence of being an extremist group in both states. Front pages in Germany calling it a political earthquake and a slap by Germany's east. It's horrible. I find it unbelievable, this Berlin resident says. The AfD playing on fears about migration, especially by Muslim immigrants, and rallying opposition to foreign aid to Ukraine and to high costs of living.
Parts of East Germany feel that they've been left behind. They feel like they are not necessarily getting their part of the pie.
The AfD leader in Thuringia telling supporters at his victory party, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. One of the biggest losers, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose deeply unpopular center-left party hemorrhaged votes. Some of his coalition partners didn't even meet the 5% threshold to serve in parliament. Scholz calling the results worrying, telling Reuters the AfD is ruining Germany's reputation. But the elections won't immediately change the way Germany is governed, in part because Germany's mainstream parties are vowing to block the AfD from forming a governing coalition. Tonight, AfD's leaders calling that threat undemocratic, saying Chancellor Scholz should take the hint and pack his bags. The election also bringing shocking success for the far left, including a brand new party, the BSW, that came in third in both states. Its leader, a former communist, echoing the far right in rejecting Germany's old guard of centrists, saying the message has arrived, people want change. It's a populist message voters have been sending more and more forcefully across Europe and even in the US. In the UK, the far-right Reform UK gaining ground, its leader Nigel Farage elected to parliament for the first time in July. And in France, the right-wing National Rally gaining dozens of seats, more than ever before, and leaving French government gridlocked for months.
Should we expect more voters across Europe to take a gamble in the future on the far right?
I think you're already seeing it. And by the way, our election is coming up in November, and it's a very similar situation here, I believe.
The big question now is what all of this means for Germany's national elections set to take place next year, and whether the rest of the country will follow this sharp shift to the right. Olaf Scholz has said he plans to run again for chancellor next year, but this election dealt such a blow to Germany's centrists that there are questions now about whether his governing coalition can even hang on until next year.
So yeah, that's my problem. I know there's bigger problems in the world, but we've all got our own. That's why when some fucking idiot on Twitter goes, "Oh, Ricky, why aren't you speaking out against the atrocities in the world?" I want to go, because I've got a fucking frozen shoulder. All right? I don't. I ignore them. Right. Questions. And I don't want to take painkillers, because the ones that work, I think they're addictive, and you end up, you know, going mental. So I'm just gonna wait a year for it to get better. And Jane has to help me on now with a cardigan or a jacket. That's no good, is it? Fuck's sake. Like an old dog, I am. I am like a dog, actually. I'm like a wizard turned a dog into a human. I sit on the floor all day, because I can't sit on the couch and I've got my trainers on, and I can't be able to take my trainers off. Right? I go for a long walk. The other night, Jane was doing something. I heard a rattle. I went, "What are you eating?" She went, "I'm doing the recycling." I was just thinking, walk, snacks. I love a wee. You know that. I had about 5 wees last night, because I wake myself up in agony and I think, oh, I might as well have a wee, because I don't want to be... Is this entertaining? Fucking hell. Oh, that's the good thing about thoughts in your head. No one else can see them. So even if you think, oh my God, I seem mental, you probably don't, unless you are mental, and then you do. If you are mental, you seem it. See, mental people think, oh, no one knows I'm mental, and we're going, yeah. Whereas I'm presumably not mental, because I'm thinking, oh, do I sound mental? Again, this is not medical advice. I can't stress that enough. Oh God. Good. Thank you. Thanks for following. Be nice to animals. Retweet some stuff. I'm tired. My frozen shoulder. That's as far as I can get it. Oh. Tatty bye, everyone. Tatty bye. The last couple of weeks and the bit before, I put on £3. I didn't all the way through, so I'm going into Christmas fat. So I'm going to be a fat little fucker. Anyway, it started well, didn't it?
You appear to have gone into some form of grief about the downfall of this ruthless, vile dictator. Why?
Well, when you say I spent time with Bashar al-Assad, you might have added that I spent time with him in Buckingham Palace when he was a guest of Her Majesty the Queen, literally living in the spare room at Buckingham Palace. The night before, going down the Mall in an open-top coach with Her Majesty on a royal trot around central London. You might have mentioned that Tony Blair suggested a knighthood for Bashar al-Assad. I've met him once, twice in my life, and the second time, not on my own. So grief, no, my grief is for Syria. My grief is for the Syrian people, who are now ruled by ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And if you were being honest with yourself, knowing what you do about ISIS and Al-Qaeda, you'd be grieving with me.
We each live our lives. The goal of each individual, I suppose, is to be as happy as you can be without hurting anyone else, without infringing on other people's rights. There's probably a list of things that make each person happy. Mine is dogs, wine, this, talking absolute shit for a living, creating. What else? All the usual things, friends and family and all that. Work. Learning. People always forget that. I always forget it, but it's great. Just finding stuff out. So, anyway, everyone has a list of things that makes them happy, and you just got to do that all your life, and then die. And probably leave the world in as good a state as you found it, if you can. That's just common courtesy, isn't it? If you borrowed someone's caravan for the weekend, and threw up everywhere, pissed on the carpet, shut the bed, you'd clean up, wouldn't you? Saturday morning. Just common courtesy. Little tip there.
Well, I certainly think there are a lot of concerns, legitimate concerns, about the leader of the rebels, who clearly was running part of al-Qaeda in Syria. That's unquestionable. He says he's a changed person. He's distanced himself from, as he puts it, the extremists. I think we have to wait and see how this plays out and see if he is true to his word. Certainly the Americans seem to be buying into that at the moment and are supporting him, as are many other countries. In this country, for example, in the UK, I've seen that the government is saying we may have to unprescribe the group that he represents as a terror group in light of what's happened. So there's a lot going on here. And clearly there are a lot of groups in Syria, and there's a lot of people who are claiming they have gone from extreme fundamentalism to more moderate positions. Let's wait and see. It has been known to happen. I would say to you, though, I'm not talking really about what happened with Assad when he first came to power, because he was all the things that you've rightly articulated. I just find it odd that you would view his dismissal now as a bad thing for Syrians. And we made a quick checklist here. This is a guy, I remember I was at CNN at the time with the 2011 Arab Spring. He crushed the peaceful resistance. It led to a devastating civil war, at least 300,000, maybe 500,000 deaths. More than 14 million Syrians had to flee their homes. He fired rockets filled with sarin gas on Ghouta, killing nearly 1,500, mostly women and children. Continued to use chlorine and sarin on his own people between 2014 to 2018. Russian and Syrian government airstrikes killed more than 100,000 Syrians since 2011. Thousands tortured and left to rot in prisons. The prisons are currently being emptied out. People have been kept there, right, in underground, horrific conditions for sometimes decades under this guy. And so whatever the argument, which is a legitimate one, as I say, about what may come next, and we've seen with Libya and with Iraq and even with Iran, sometimes be careful what you wish for, and I'm absolutely cognizant of that. And I'm not getting too excited until I see how this plays out in terms of the leadership. But you cannot defend Assad's record of how he has treated his own people, given the scale of death, destruction, wrongful imprisonment, torture, and so on. Can you?
Well, that's the kind of propaganda porn that you've just adumbrated, that we were treated to about Saddam Hussein to justify invading and occupying Iraq. Both you and me, to our eternal credit, saw through that because we refused to abstract. Even if 1/5 of what you just said there is the case, that is not a justification for making every matter worse. Now, it's true that Paul had a dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus, but we know al-Golani. He wasn't just the number 2 to Zarqawi in Iraq. He was the al-Qaeda number 2 in Iraq, killing British soldiers, by the way, killing American soldiers, by the way. And then he went to Syria and became the number 2 to al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS in Syria. So that would knock Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus into a cocked hat. Now, like you, I'm waiting for developments. Like you, I'm ready to treat this on its merits. If the Christian priests are not massacred, if the nuns are not kidnapped, if the religious minorities and Kurdish minorities and Druze minorities are not hunted down, like Golani did just 7 years ago, Well, nobody will be happier than me. But you used the words, be careful what you wish for. In the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus yesterday, his supporters were chanting that they're on their way to Jerusalem next. And after Jerusalem, they're on their way to Mecca next. Now, I could live with that, Piers. I'm not sure that you could.
Listen, I'm not trying to make a defense of any of it at the moment. I think it's a very turbulent situation. As you know, I've got relatives, including my brother, who've been in the military, and you can make a very good argument that when you depose dictators, it often leads to a worse situation. I mean, I think that's inarguable. And I'm not saying for a moment that I have absolute confidence that won't happen here, but I certainly wouldn't let that stray into a defensive of Assad, who I think is indisputably proven himself to be an evil dictator.
Well, you can't, can you? I mean, you can't. I mean, it's so subjective, isn't it? And today there's no such thing as mental. Everyone's got an excuse. Everything's a fucking... You know what I mean? It used to be he's mental. But now, no, he's not. So, I think it would be them to prove I was mental. What would I do? Just have a sort of dignified conversation. Like that. I go, well, sorry about the inconvenience. There's been a misunderstanding. I do the test, right? And I go, yeah. And I go, well, yeah, you're saying. And then as they would leave, I go, oh, they say, well, listen, I'll put in the recommendation. You'll leave. I go, as they leave, I go, can I eat your feet? And they go, oh, fucking hell. Oh.
Let me ask you, there's a lot going on in the world right now, not least in the Middle East. You've seen Israel clearly have military success now, both against Hamas and Hezbollah, which seems to have given them a resurgent popularity. Netanyahu was very unpopular, is now much more popular because these people support what he's been doing with what they perceive to be terrorism. Iran, I would argue, is indisputably been weakened, not just by that, by also what's happened with al-Assad. You could argue that Russia has also been weakened because they basically pulled out of Syria completely. They've got the troops there, but they're trying to get out of there completely. What do you make of the whole situation in totality? Donald Trump's coming in. He's made it clear he wants to end the war in Ukraine. He wants to try and end the wars in the Middle East. But where are we going to be left out of all this in a few months, do you think?
Well, unfortunately, for the purposes of show business, I agreed with all of that you just said. The truth is that the big winners in this are Erdogan, the new Ottoman emperor, whose flag is flying on the citadel in Aleppo for the first time since Lawrence of Arabia and the Syrian Arab national movement drove the Ottomans out in the First World War, and Netanyahu, who looked dead and buried only 15 months ago.
Yeah.
He looked like he was headed for the pokey. And now he's the cock of the walk. And frankly, the Arabs are lying prone on the floor. And only his tender mercies are anything or everything that stands in the way of him doing to them as he pleases. And he's now invading Syria. He's expanding the Israeli so-called buffer zone, occupation zone on Syrian territory. He's cleaned half of the Gaza Strip entirely of its Palestinian population, the north of Gaza. He could right now, tonight, open the gates of Rafah and drive the remaining Palestinians into the desert in Egypt, and nobody, literally nobody, is going to stop him.
And he's got a president coming in who is completely on his side.
Well, we'll see about that. Depends which Donald Trump you meet. If it's the Donald Trump that was campaigning in Michigan on the eve of poll before his greatest comeback since George Foreman's rumble in the jungle, the that Donald Trump wants to end the wars. That Donald Trump might be the one, counterintuitively, I'll grant you, who forces Netanyahu to have some mercy and to try and bring about an end to this suppurating conflict that has poisoned world affairs for basically all of my
I think Trump,
life.
I actually agree with you. I agree with you. I think Trump, I spoke to him last week and it came up about Middle East and Ukraine and Russia. He is instinctively, he's anti-war. Always has been. Apart from anything else, as a business guy, he just thinks war is bad for business. It costs an awful lot of money. It puts enormous strain on the economy. And what do you gain? I mean, his argument, I think, would be, actually, if you look at America's wars and interventions over the last 50 years, where could you see a clear victory which justified all the money and all the bloodshed and everything else? And I would agree with him. So I do think he can be surprising. I also think there's a will to get peace now, certainly with the Israel-Hamas war, and I think also with Ukraine-Russia. You can see the rhetoric from Zelensky that he is clearly now ready to do some kind of deal because they're both losing too many people. I mean, Russia's losing 2,000 soldiers a day. That's why they've got the North Koreans coming in.
If you were immortal for one day, what would you do? Right, so, okay, I know what you mean. So I can't die, whatever I do that day, like Groundhog Day. I can do what I want and I can't. But then at midnight, I'm mortal again. I've got to be careful. Well, I suppose I would do dangerous things. Would I do things, would I like go into war zones and sort people out because they couldn't kill me? Or would I just fuck about? Just like jump off buildings to get to annoy tourists? Hold on though. Right, I'm immortal, but I've seen these things like the monkey's paw and 3 wishes go wrong when there's a twist in the tale. So I jump off a building for a laugh and I crunch and I'm not dead, but I'm smashed to pieces and in agony. And I'm going, and then you go, yeah, I didn't say you. So I'm absolutely fucked. And then I just die of my injuries the next day. You gotta be careful with these questions. What would I do? I don't know. What would I do? Maybe I would do things that other people couldn't do. But what's that though? And you only got one day. What's the point? Running around bouncing off cars for a laugh. Good question though, that, isn't it? Some people have really thought that out. Like, I know what I'd do. Wade into poachers. Just going like, they wouldn't know what I did, would they?